Part of practicing the art of gratitude is being thankful. But when you practice it, it's just more of a habit and something that you've got to do every day in order to get the benefits from it. And it's not just being thankful, but it's just appreciating all the little things that you have in life. And there's a lot of research out there that has shown that by practicing the art of gratitude, it has a lot of positive effects on us. Physically and interpersonally, it just has some positive benefits.
K-State Research and Extension, Family and Consumer Sciences agents and specialists across the state are again hosting a series of one-hour virtual programs in January, February, and March that cover a variety of topics to improve our health and well-being. The winter series of Living Well Wednesday webinars begins on January 12th. On today's Sound Living, a preview of the first two programs in that series. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. Jennifer LaSalle, Extension Family and Community Wellness Agent for the West Plains District, and Myrna Bonilla, the Community Health and Wellness Agent for the Chisholm Trail District, are here to preview the first two webinars, A Parent's Guide to Social Media and Cultivating an Attitude of Gratitude. Myrna, an opportunity to give some insight into the wellness series that is coming up starting in January. And the first one will be on January 12th. It's The Parent's Guide to Social Media with John Calvert. You did one of these last year, as I recall, and this will be an opportunity to really expand on that and make parents aware of some other apps that they should be aware of.
Yes, so we were really excited to be able to get John Calvert, who is the director of Safe and Secure Schools Unit with Kansas Department of Education, to be able to present again with us. We found that when he did the program last year with us in the Living Well Together series, that a lot of families ended up realizing, like, there's a lot more to social media than just, giving my kids access to a phone. And so we're really grateful for him to be able to present because, as we know, social media keeps changing constantly. And so John is going to be able to provide us with a few tips and apps to be aware of, especially on our children's phones.
I think some of this boiled down to the fact that we just really need to be talking to them and knowing what kind of apps they have installed on their phones.
Right, yeah. So surveys and more studies are coming out that about 90% of teens from the ages of 13 to 17 have access to social media and use social media. And so that's why it's just really important to be able to know what to look out for and know how to also talk to our children about the dangers and the potential risks that come with social media.
Some of this is also just, I guess, communicating the fact that you need to protect certain things when you're doing things with apps. Even if the parents say you can do this, you still need to follow up.
Right, yeah. And John does a really good job of providing some tips and examples of how we can set some limits with our teenagers and young adults, and also just how to make sure that we are able to keep them safe in a world that we have no control over what is put on there, such as the internet. And so if we're able to find any type of way to make sure that our children stay safe and use a social media app correctly, I'm really excited that John will be able to give us a couple of examples on that.
I know these are only 30-minute presentations and then 10 to 15 minutes for questions and answers. I'm assuming with this topic, John may have a little bit of trouble fitting all of that into just that 30 minutes and probably even just trying to answer their questions, because I know this is something that parents really are concerned about.
Yeah, and we did talk about that too, of how do we wrap this up into, a quick 30, 35-minute presentation. And it is a lot to go over. I think the main points he'll cover for sure are what social media apps right now are the top trending apps, and then what to be aware of, and how some teenagers or young adults are utilizing them. Because the way I'm sure that the older generation uses Facebook to connect with others could be vastly different of how a young adult uses Facebook to provide content of entertainment or provide, information that they probably shouldn't have been sharing. And so, just like you mentioned, there's a lot to pack into that 35-minute program, but we're really really focusing on making sure that we give parents just the additional resources. And John is great in being able to reach back out to him or to us, and if they have any other questions or they want to learn more on the social media effects.
Well, and he's really good at this because this is really what he does. So he's on top of everything that's coming out, because I think just in kind of our email exchange, he mentioned that there are several new apps that have come out since the last time he did this.
Yes, and even speaking to that, both the apps that he had mentioned that are new, that he will mention, I had no clue existed. It just goes to show that so much is evolving, and if we're not on top of what we should be looking out for, there's a lot of things that will fall in the cracks. And so, yes, like you mentioned, John has 2 new apps that he'll present on. So that'll be a little bit of the difference between the last program that he did with us and then the January one.
I'm curious, is this something that people said we would like to hear more about if you continue the series? Because I'm assuming that you got a lot of positive feedback from doing this the first time.
We did, yes. Also positive feedback, but also what we found was the personal stories that came with it as well. There was a lot of parents that had concerns and just didn't know how to address some of the issues and the impacts that the social media has had on mental health with their kiddo. And so we did find that a lot more parents were really curious as to finding out more information and how they can be proactive in making sure that their child is safe. But there's a lot of things changing, and so it's nice to have someone that we can trust to be able to provide us with that information, because he heard of things of social media apps, and he's on top of what is in and what is trending, and it really is great to be able to partner with him and make sure that we're giving out resources that families need.
That'll be the first webinar in the winter series on January 12th, and then on January 26th, you're going to look at cultivating an attitude of gratitude. And Jennifer, maybe a little bit of background on that. How did this all come together?
We've been meeting every Monday with these wellness webinars, and we were talking about around topics that should we talk about. And then Sherilyn was like, we need to end with something positive. And I had taught school for many years, and I was trying to think of what did I do when I taught school. And I remember being trained in this program called Aid to Great, and one of the chapters in this program was practicing the art of gratitude. And so I just kind of mentioned that to them at our meeting, and they were like, okay, that sounds good. And then I sat in on this webinar about calming the inner storm, and it was about stress. And one of the strategies was practicing gratitude. So I thought, this is a sign that maybe this is something that we ought to talk about. And so I brought it up again, and everybody thought it was a good idea. And since I brought it up, they were like, so I guess you could be the presenter for this one. So that's kind of how it came about.
Well, it's a great idea. And when we talk about gratitude, I think of being thankful. Is that how you view it, or is there more to it?
Well, you are exactly right. Part of practicing the art of gratitude is being thankful. But when you practice it, it's just more of a habit and something that you've got to do every day in order to get the benefits from it. And it's not just being thankful, but it's just appreciating all the little things that you have in life. And there's a lot of research out there that has shown that by practicing the art of gratitude, it has a lot of positive effects on us. Physically and interpersonally, it just has some positive benefits.
I was just going to mention, too, that, when Jennifer was talking about the gratitude program, she also gave us examples of how to practice gratitude, but make it impactful in your daily habit. And so, for example, most of the time when we think like we are thankful for our family, she explained to us where you break it down even more to, I am thankful I was able to talk to my daughter today. It's being able to incorporate and notice the little things in life and be very specific and intentional about what you are grateful for in order, to get the full effects of how gratitude can impact your life.
This is also coming at a really good time because I know in the lead up to this, you mentioned the fact that we set a lot of resolutions, and some of those might be to be positive, and we kind of get to about the 26th, and some of those resolutions we set are already starting to kind of fade away, so this might be a way to get some people back on track as well.
Yeah, a lot of people's New Year's resolution may be that I'm going to have a positive attitude, and what better way to cultivate that than practicing the art of being grateful? And we'll talk about different strategies on how you can cultivate that attitude of gratitude. It's just a relatively new study in psychology, but what they have found in all these studies is that it just reaps great benefits, especially with our health. And that's what we're all about here in Extension with the Family and Consumer Science, is talking about wellness. And that's not just physical wellness, but it's also mental wellness. And studies have shown that people who practice it on a daily basis, they improve their health. It has given more motivation to exercise, which we all know the benefits of exercising. It has shown that they can sleep better at night, and that contributes to our wellness. Even they have shown studies how it affects people in the workplace. Their productivity increases, longevity of their job is better, and they just have found all these benefits that practicing gratitude has on people.
I would think in the workplace this would be especially nice because of the fact that if you have just even one person that has that real positive outlook, other people pick up on that, and they also maybe start to put out what I would call the good vibe.
Yes, and that's what they're saying with this study with gratitude, and also this program that we were trained in when I was a teacher, that by practicing that, one of the benefits of it, too, is happiness. And isn't that what we all want in life, is to be happy? And they have shown that the two correlate together. And when I was teaching school, and after we did this program, the staff, every Monday morning, we would send out our gratitude. We did it on a weekly basis. We would send out what we were grateful for, and the way we did it is we wrote down like 3 things in the last 24 hours that we were grateful for, and you couldn't have any repeats. And so it really made you really think about, like Myrna said, those little things in life, not just my family, but, oh, my son gave me a hug this morning. I was so grateful for that. Just those kind of little things. I was so grateful that the secretary brought me down my papers that I copied on the machine. So, we want to take a look at those little things, and they just start to build up to find out that, things are great in my life.
And sometimes just being able to offset some of the more stressful things or the negative things that happen throughout the day or throughout the week, if you can look back on some of the positives, it kind of balances out and it doesn't start to overwhelm you, I guess.
You are exactly right. And I'm glad you brought that up because, our first 2 webinars was about stress. And so this just kind of leads right into what we talked about in our first 2 webinars as another way of helping you with some of those stressful times. And, there's times we feel so overwhelmed, but there's always something good that we can look into and be appreciative of.
Well, it's a great series. It started last year, and you're going to continue it again in 2022. And if people want to get involved with this, how do they do that?
So we actually created a website, and we did change the name slightly. For our 2022 series, it's called the Living Well Wednesdays, because we do plan on presenting a different topic the second and fourth Wednesdays for January, February, and March. And so if you just type in our bit.ly link of KSRE Living Well Webinars, you should be able to find it on our KSRE page.
Real easy to get registered, just a little bit of basic information, and then they'll get reminders, too, that the series is coming up.
Exactly. And the awesome thing about our registration is you only have to register once, and you'll be able to receive the link for all future programming. So you don't have to continue registering for every single program. We'll make sure to keep everyone in the loop of who is presenting, what topic, and luckily it's virtual, so you don't even have to leave your house. So you can hop on whenever you can. And if you can't hop on live, we do upload the recordings onto our website afterwards, along with the additional resources we provide.
That's Myrna Bonilla, the K-State Research and Extension Community Health and Wellness Agent for the Chisholm Trail District, and Jennifer LaSalle, Family and Community Wellness Agent for the West Plains District. Again, to register for the Winter Living Well Wednesday webinar series, go to ksre.k-state.edu/FCS. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.